This is the 2019 Acura MDX, and if you look a little bit closer, you're going to notice a badge you've never seen in an MDX before. It is the newly introduced A-Spec, which is essentially a sports appearance package. It costs 60,490 Canadian dollars, which is $6,000 more than the entry-level model, and it comes with 20-inch wheels with 265/45/20 tires, sportier accents around the body and the front grille, bigger and round exhaust tips, and inside there's a ton of suede and contrasting stitching. You also get sporty dials, sporty pedals, and a few A-Spec labels. The refreshed exterior from 2 years ago still feels fresh, and I have to say, the MDX, in my eyes, is a good-looking SUV. Inside, it's not as fresh. The materials used are good, but the design has started to age and could use an RDX-inspired makeover. Roominess is really good. 7 passengers will fit, 5 of them really comfortably, unless the 2 sitting in the far back are kids, in which case they'll be very happy too. The middle row can slide back and forth and has the ability to fold quite nicely to open a good space for access. The trunk is a good 447 liters with all seats up, or it can become a massive 1,230 liters with 1 row stowed. And you also have some extra space underneath the cargo floor. Technology is good. You get 2 screens and Android Auto and CarPlay, but that round knob for the infotainment control really needs to go. Safety-wise, you get every single feature available from the base model to the top model, so kudos for Acura for not cheaping out there. Things like collision mitigation and adaptive cruise control are standard, and so is the heated steering wheel. The 3.5-liter VTEC V6 sounds great and is butter smooth, but mated to a rather slow 9-speed automatic transmission, it isn't very exciting. It does make 290 horsepower and 267 pound-feet of torque. It is capable to make this thing boogie, but not without a penalty, and that is fuel economy. At least in this freezing weather, I'm really struggling to get anything lower than 18 liters per 100 kilometers on average, and that's brutally high. Hopefully with more highway and more normal temperatures, it's gonna go lower, but how much lower? I'm not so sure. The super handling all-wheel drive system is of course present. It can send up to 70% of the power to the rear wheels. It can then split 100% of that 70% to either one of them, but in general, it is pretty front wheel biased. You can monitor this screen that shows you how much power is going where, but do it carefully because it can be pretty distracting. The weight of the MDX, which is about 2 tons, doesn't really allow it to be as playful as the new RDX, but despite that, it has 185 millimeters of ground clearance, and in the snow, this thing feels like a champion. The A-Spec model gets fixed-rate dampers, which are pretty comfort-tuned. They do allow a little bit of body roll to occur, but that doesn't really affect the grip limits. I mean, this thing, it is very sure-footed, and it holds the road pretty well. It corners with confidence and will understeer if you overdo it, and hammering the throttle helps a bit as it forces the torque vectoring to pinch the inside brakes and send the power to the outside wheels, and all that helps the car pivot a bit easier, especially around tight corners. The effect isn't as dramatic as in the RDX, but you can still feel all this happening, especially in slow motion, icy situations. You probably noticed how often I reference the RDX, and that's for a reason. It's because the RDX, the 2019, is a very, very good crossover. I mean, Acura almost nailed it at 100%. So we know that Acura can do so much more than this MDX, because this is good, it just feels a little bit old. The steering is a bit numb, the brake pedal is spongy, so it's nowhere near as fun as the RDX. It is, however, very refined, very quiet, and very roomy. And best of all, it can tow up to 5,000 pounds, so it's really an SUV. So overall score is 7.5 out of 10, just because it's starting to age and we all know that Acura is capable of doing so much more.